How you going, people? Gonna do one on can cops give immunity? Now, there's all different types of immunity. People think, oh, when you hear immunity, you can do anything. Diplomatic immunity is kind of pretty much everything. I mean, as a peace officer or in the military, if we stop somebody and contact them and they show us diplomatic credentials, no matter what they've done, we're pretty much kind of like, hey, we're done. Now, you can hold them a little bit, and if it's serious enough, you can call the State Department, have the credentials verified, you'll give them the information, they'll verify that they're legit. But if you get handed diplomatic immunity paper, you shouldn't just take it on face value. I memean, you need to verify it and make sure this person didn't steal it, he's not on a wanted list, it hasn't been revoked, but most of the time, it's over parking or they do something stupid and they're just being jerks because they can, because we have no jurisdiction over them. They can do anything. Legally. Somebody with diplomatic immunity come over here, walk up to you in your house, you're not doing anything wrong, put a bullet in your head and shoot you, and will walk away. Absolute immunity. Now, we're going to be told that, oh, but the state's going to bring them back and they're going to be charged bad over there. Look, all right, so diplomatic immunity pretty much is carte blanche. If you got diplomatic immunity, you can do anything, and that government has agreed, our government has agreed with whoever we give diplomatic immunity to, that your guy will not be harassed, stopped, detained in any way in our country. He's pretty much got carte blanche. So, that's one type of immunity. Then judges have immunity. If they do something on a stand, they have immunity from giving out bad warrants, to bad sentences, to violating the law. They have all kind of immunity. However, if a judge on a stand is taking bribes and is getting paid off, he's committing a crime, that is a way around his immunity. So he doesn't have almost carte blanche, but he's got pretty much carte blanche immunity. And, judges who are these big gun control guys and don't think people and have these tough sentences for somebody with a gun, honest citizen with a gun, and, some cop arrests him because he crossed within 10 feet of a school, and he goes in there and they want to hand out some sentence. All judges can carry guns, okay? That just comes with the job because they're lawyers, and lawyers run this stinking world, and that's why it's so crooked. So, DAs, district attorneys, most judges are either prior DAs or prosecutors. You don't just become a lawyer and become a judge. I mean, you don't have to do much. Basically, you got to have someone in politics and they appoint you, and then you get reelected if you have reelections. But you're appointed. Most judges are appointed not because of their skill or their great legal knowledge or their fairness or their loyalty to the Constitution and country. That's not how judges are appointed. Judges are appointed as payback. If you help me and you give me money and you're my friend and you support me and you help me get elected, when I'm elected, I'll promise you a judgeship. And DAs, because DAs work for the state, they want that federal judge. They want to be a federal prosecutor, so maybe they can get a federal judgeship. If the DA cuts a deal with the feds and gives them an easy case or whatever, they can kind of get promises, hey man, you help me out on this case, I think I can get you over here and we'll get you as a federal prosecutor, maybe get you a federal judgeship. So there's always backdoors deals being cut between attorneys. Everybody, oh, attorneys, if you're an attorney, you got some sort of honor or diplomat, you're so smart, come on people, it's a piece of paper, it's an education. You go through an indoctrination, you follow little rules of the club, and you're in a club. So those are different types of immunity. Now, there's limited immunity and qualified immunity and other different types of immunity, and cops have some sort of limited immunity. As long as we're within policy and the scope of our duties, we're protected somewhat. But it's less than the DA, and it's less than a judge, and it's less than diplomatic immunity. So it's very limited immunity. Now, as a citizen, you can be given immunity. So let's say you get arrested for robbing a store. You went in and robbed a store. But you know that this guy is bringing in 400 pounds of cocaine. Well, that used to be against the law, but Obama kind of letting everybody out of prison for that. Let's just, all right, you know this guy has killed somebody. Obama hasn't made that legal yet, unless you're not white. But so you know somebody who's killed somebody, and you're a witness, and you can help them prosecute this guy. Since you're lower and you're a robber, and we can get somebody higher who's a killer, the DA can give you immunity for your testimony. And that immunity can be limited to one crime. Very rarely do they give immunity for all crimes, because you may be involved in a murder and they don't want to say you have complete immunity for any and previous crimes, because then if you kill somebody, they can't prosecute you, technically. You get into issues whether the state gives you immunity and whether the feds recognize it, and they can go, we don't care what the state said, we're the Fed. So there's always loopholes, and there's nothing guaranteed when you're dealing with the government. So, but who else can give immunity? Now, DAs would have you believe that the only people that can give immunity is a DA. And I guess theoretically that's kind of correct. But technically, anybody in the prosecution team, anybody involved in the process, can give immunity. So, can cops give immunity? Yeah, cops can give immunity. And I gave it one time and I got my butt chewed, but you know what? If I saw a point to where I need to do it again, I would. There's not a lot of cases where you need to do that. But in this particular case, where this girl got on stand, she was being threatened by gang members, she was testifying. I was working with a case, I can't even remember what the case was, but when she got up on the stand, she totally changed her story to what she told us before. So that means she's either lying now or she lied to us. Well, if she lied to us, because it's not under perjury, big deal. You can lie to cops. There's no law against lying to cops. If you give a false information or false ID, there's a crime for that. But if you tell a story that, you know, blah, blah, I lied, there's no law against lying to the cops. Now, the feds, if you lie to them, they can prosecute you if you're lying in a federal investigation. But if you lie to a cop for something saying, hey, man, I don't know, and you know something, that's not chargeable. Well, she gave a statement, and she got on the stand, and her statement, of course, helped the prosecution and pointed at the bad guy we were trying to prosecute. But when she got on the stand, she was like, no, I didn't see him, or I don't know, or she just flipped her story. And now she's of no help to us. So the DA working a case, same DA that I end up turning in later, who I believe and I think is crooked, but that's beside the point. On this case, I still think what he was doing was somewhat crooked, but it wasn't as crooked. So she gets off the stand, and he's like, he tells the cop who works for the agency that's prosecuting the case, hey man, she just lied on the stand, go outside and arrest her. And he's sitting there in uniform at the jury trial, and when the prosecution is doing a jury trial, you'll notice the cop sitting there in his little suit or uniform, and then you'll see him sitting next to the DA. Well, normally in a prosecution, all the witnesses are excluded so they don't hear other people's testimony, and they can only come in the courtroom when it's their turn to testify. So you don't change their facts so they don't hear somebody else and say, I don't believe that, oh man, that's my buddy and he just said that, well I better change my story. So to prevent that, all witnesses are excluded, and when you get off the witness stand, the judge always admonishes you saying, hey, you're still under oath, you're still admonished not to talk about the case with anybody. And you leave. And then some cops will go out and talk to other cops. Hey man, just so you know, they asked me. I didn't like that. They came to me, said, hey man, just so you know, I go, dude, I don't want to get involved. You know you're not supposed to talk about it. I don't want to get on the stand and them ask me, hey, did somebody tell you something? And then I end up either having to lie or say yeah, and then now you're pissed and you're in trouble. I don't care what they ask you. If we screw it up, we get it wrong, we get it wrong. I didn't really care if people went loose. It wasn't my job to get them in jail. It was do the best job I could and get to the truth. I just didn't want people going to jail for the wrong reason or lying to get them there. That's BS. And most cops are that way. And you know, cops coming up, they're not trying to plant evidence. I mean, when cops came up to me and go, hey, just so you know what they asked me, they were probably, you know, if they got caught on a report time was 5 minutes difference or 10 minutes and our reports don't match, so, you know, they want to give you a heads up that just in case you get in there, man, you're going to get jammed up. And I said this, so just so you know. So it wasn't necessarily to conspire to plant evidence like everybody thinks cops do. It was more of a heads up saying, dude, you're going to get ambushed in there because our reports messed up and they kind of called me on it and I was stuck. So is that what they mean when they go don't talk about the case? I don't know. They say don't talk about the case, you're not supposed to talk about it. So anyway, when you testify, I forgot where the hell I was going with that. How did I get on another cop? Shit, I'm going to have to go back and watch this video and figure out where I was going. But anyway, this girl got up there and, the point is, when you're sitting in front of a jury, the person that's sitting next to the DA, the cop, or the person, or the cop that's in a suit next to the DA, if DAs are allowed to exempt the investigating officer, agent, whoever, and he gets to sit with the prosecution. So I get to hear everybody's testimony before I testify. And it's to help the prosecutor because I'm more familiar with the case. So and when he gets witnesses, I can ask specific things. If he forgets to ask him things, I can make notes. If somebody lies, I can find it and report and point it out to the DA. So basically the investigating officer sitting next to the DA is assisting the DA to get the prosecution. And it exempts him or her from sitting outside the courtroom where all the other cops are. Because normally they don't allow everybody in the courtroom, all the witnesses, because it'll be. Now, the family members in the stands aren't questioned and aren't told, don't talk about the case. They're not under oath. They're not told. So what do? They sit there and they watch, and then as soon as somebody testifies, they run outside and you see them in the hallway, either on the phone or whatever, because they know their son, cousin, uncle, daughter, LGB, friend, whatever, is going to have to testify. And then, so they're going to tell them, hey man, this cop just said this and this cop just said that. So, is the system fair to where cops can't talk, but everyone else can? Yeah, it's not fair that way. So, the cop is sitting there next to him, and the whole purpose of the prosecution, when you're doing a jury trial, is, they kind of, I don't even like it, they kind of kiss the jury's ass. You'll notice the prosecution is always sitting next to the jury. They don't let the defendant next to us because they don't want them to be close enough and get contact and become some sort of bonding measure. So they always put the defendant farthest away with his lawyer from the jury, and the prosecution, the government, the good guys, always get to sit next to the jury so the opposite can happen, so we can be closer, so they can see us, so we can bond, so it feels like we're part of the people, we're on their side, we're all together against this guy. So it's set up with all these different little games in there anyway, but most people don't pick that up or realize that. But anyway, so when he's sitting here, the last thing he wants to do is piss off the jury or look bad. You know, when the jury leaves, you notice the prosecution and all the cops stand, or the investigating officer, anybody on the prosecution, everybody stands up. And the defendant and their attorney stand up. Like the jury is some special, oh, we have to pay our respects to the jury. I thought that was so BS and it was so phony ass kissing. But you know what? They do it. They want to make, both sides want to make a good impression on the jury. They're trying to buy the jury to their side. And if we respect them and stand up, I was kind of like, hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to kiss your ass to give me a guilty verdict. Either they're guilty or they're not. If I have to kiss your ass to get a guilty verdict, then my case ain't that strong, and you're not that good of a juror, whatever. But you know, I'm on the outside fringe there in that area. So I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting behind. Either I was just a witness, and I'd already testified, and since they weren't going to call me back, I could sit in a courtroom. So if you testify early, and you know the prosecution or defense does say, I want to reserve the right to recall him on rebuttal or for more information. Now you're still on call, you got to leave because you might be called back. But if you testify and, you know, I testify, yeah, I was there and I saw this and that's all my testimony, I don't have anything else, then they don't say that, so now I can stay in the courtroom. So I end up being in this courtroom. I was working gangs, and this was my partner that was on the case, and so we were working on the BS and whatever. So we're out there, and so the DA turns to him and goes, yo, you need to go arrest her. She just lied on the stand. That's perjury. I'm telling you that's probable cause to arrest her. Go arrest her. And the cop, who didn't work for the DA, he worked for an agency, was like, man, I ain't arresting her. Well, shit, I'm in here in jury trial. I go out there, one of the jurors see me arresting her, then I look bad. No, he goes, I ain't arresting her. Well, he turns to me, who I do work for the DA's office. I didn't necessarily work for him. I work for the DA, but he's one of the deputy DAs, and he ended up turning out to be the DA later. But I mean, he was like, hey man, go arrest her. And I was like, man, she did lie. And I said, all right. So I felt okay arresting her because I thought there was probable cause, not just because he told me, because she went up there and lied, and I knew what her statement said, and it was different. So I walk outside, and she's outside, and I go, hey, I said, you just lied on the stand. I said, you committed perjury. Why'd you do that? She goes, I don't want to talk to you. I go, all right. Well, if you don't want to talk to me, I'm going to arrest you. And this is a side note. I was going to put this on one of my crazy cop stories. Some defense attorney sees me talking to her. And, you know, I got my gun. I'm kind of dressed down. I'm not in uniform, I'm in my plain clothes, but I still have my gun belt on and my police shirt and all that stuff. So I'm talking to her, and he sees me, and he overhears me. And he goes, hey, don't you tell her if she don't talk to you, you're going to arrest her. You can't arrest somebody for not talking to you. And I looked at him. I go, dude, I'm going to arrest you if you interfere with my duties of arresting her. You need to get out of here. And he gets all huffy. I'm going to try. I don't give a shit who you are. I said, I'm talking to her. I'm about to make an arrest. And if you continue to talk to me, you're interfering and you're going to jail too. So he storms off. I'm going to file a complaint. This is bullshit. And he storms off in the courtroom. So I turn to her and I go, you lied. I got to arrest you. So I hook her up. And I'm putting her in jail. I'm driving down there. And as I'm driving her to jail, I'm like, man, why did you do? Because I can tell she's upset. She doesn't look really scared, but she's just kind of settling down. I was like, I go, why'd you do that? And I don't remember if it was her or some other time, because this happens a lot. She has kids at home, and I said, now you're going to go to jail. And I said, you know, the CPS is going to get involved with kids. I said, you've bought all this trouble. Why? Why would you change your story? And she goes, oh, I just didn't want to get them in trouble, and I'm afraid. And, you know, my kids go to school. I live in this area, and a couple people told me, you know, you don't want to piss these guys off, and they got to have friends. And so to me, that led me more to witness intimidation, and she was doing that for fear, not necessarily to cover up for somebody. Whether it was true or not, I don't know, but I kind of believed her. So I said, well, look, I got to book you. So I get all the way to jail. I'm ready to book her in. I go, I got to book you. And she says, and I told her, I go, look, this is the last chance. I said, if you want to go back and tell the truth and say that you lied and explain to them, then you won't be charged for perjury. But I said, if you don't, you're going to be charged for perjury. At that moment, I gave her immunity and pissed off because of the DA. I gave her immunity, and I made a deal with her as a prosecution team that she would not be prosecuted. Well, she said, okay, I'll go back and tell the truth. Now, in my mind, that was a win. I would rather have the truth than just be able to prosecute her for another crime. Well, in the DA's mind, because he's trying to make a name and he's trying to get his stats up and he wants as many arrests and anything he can hang a gang associate to and all that crap and build his stats so he can become DA, that's what he wants. So what does he do? I bring her back and I go, hey man, he goes, what's she doing here? I said, she wants to testify again. He goes, what? What? I told you to arrest her. I go, hey man, I did arrest her. And she said she would tell the truth, she was intimidated, and now she's going to make the record straight, get back on the stand. He goes, man, I could have made this case without her. I didn't need her. All right, I'll put her back on. So he ends up putting her back on the stand, starts crying, tells the truth, corrects her testimony, says her previous statement was good. Now, how's that going to weigh on the jury? Is the jury going to go, if she lied once, is she lying again, is she lying now, is she only telling the truth because she was going to jail? So it's not as clean. And that's the DA is looking, you know what, I'd rather have her in jail and show that she lied and put in her testimony that she lied. But now I got to have her come back in here and play the victim. And now that so he's looking at total win. He doesn't care about the truth. I'm looking for, hey, the jury deserves to hear the truth. Here, she's going to tell the truth. So she gets on the stand. So after the case, I get called into the DA's office. And the DA is like, hey, I'm the only one that gives immunity in this county. Are we clear? I go, yeah, I already know that. He goes, are we clear that I'm the only one that gives immunity? I said, hey, I just told her we wouldn't prosecute her. And he goes, I'm the only one that gives immunity. Don't do it again. And that was the end of our conversation with the DA. Now, of course, the other guy was, you know, he called me in his office. He's like, man, you fucked me. I wanted to arrest her, and that's bullshit. And I go, dude, she told the truth. What is the big freaking deal? Blah, blah, blah. He goes, I'm going to charge her anyway. I don't care. I don't give a shit what you said. I'm going to charge her. And I went, dude, you can't charge her. I said, I told her she wouldn't be charged. I said, I'm part of the prosecution team. I said, as far as she's concerned, she had immunity. She had the right to believe what government told her. I'm a government official. I'm part of the prosecution team. I told her she wouldn't be charged. She told the truth. She got up and told the truth. I said, you can't charge her. I would be testifying for her. So he got, God damn it! And that's when he ran to the DA, and that's why I got my ass called in and chewed out by the DA. But, you know what? Cops can give immunity on limited situations. And to me, if it's the right thing, well, then you know what? Usually in life, there's two ways to do stuff, the easy way and a hard way. And normally, the hard way is the right way. The easy way is normally the wrong way. And so I took some heat on that, but that's all right. All right, we'll end that there.